All right. Well, I'm joined by Jesse Tandler from the New Roots Institute. He's the managing director there. The New Roots Institute is the charity that we gave to in the first week of Vegan 2.0, and Jesse Tandler is running things over there. Jesse, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I'm really interested to ask you about New Roots Institute's approach broadly. Perhaps I can give you that to kind of run with just off the bat.
Yeah, so we started out a number of years ago, well over a decade ago, actually, going into different classrooms, mostly around the country, high school and college, and doing presentations on the various impacts of factory farming on animals, workers, environment, public health. A very non-judgmental approach. Here are the facts, not telling anyone what they should or shouldn't do. That allowed us to get into lots of classrooms. In 2018, we started a small pilot in the Bay Area of an internship program that was actually started by Monica Chen, who's now our executive director. And when the pandemic hit and we weren't able to get into classrooms in the same way, we really ramped up that program, and it became an international program. That first summer we had 100 or about 100 high school and college students in it, and we were educating them more deeply, training them to start thinking about advocacy. It was a more inclusive program at that time. There are plenty of people who are not vegan, who are just kind of curious about factory farming. Then over the last 5 years, we've really worked on honing that program into effectively training these students to run campaigns with partner organizations and become strong communicators, as well as just really understand how to do advocacy effectively while creating impact on their campuses. So that's where we're at now. We, over the last months, have actually deprioritized the educator-led classroom program. So our staff that go into the classrooms, we're no longer doing that as of this next year, because all of the data we had really showed us that having fellows do the education, run the campaigns on campus was going to be the most impactful way to go. And although we did see really interesting and longitudinal impact with the educator-led lessons, it was on average, according to the data, we had about 20 times less than what a fellow could do. So that is to say that one educator-led lesson on a campus was about 20 times less impactful on average than having a fellow on campus. Of course, we're trying to get into those classrooms as many times as possible, but as you can imagine, recognizing that putting the resources more into training the fellows and being effective there just seemed like a more streamlined model and just a better use of resources generally.
Okay, that's super interesting. So you were originally more focused on educator-led sessions, so people from your team going in giving presentations, and now you're pivoting to how are you reaching the students to become fellows?
So the way that we are recruiting now is not just in the classrooms. We've been recruiting more broadly. Handshake, for example, is a platform that we've gotten lots of applications from. We are now focused on building out our recruitment mechanisms to get all of the top advocates from high schools and colleges in the country. Our program is much more focused on those very highly motivated fellows. We're not trying to train them to be against factory farming. We already want them to be there, and we want to just be training them to be effective advocates rather than just understanding about the impacts in the first place.
I see. Yeah. So you're not trying to you're trying to create advocates rather than trying to create vegans in this case.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the fellows themselves will still be doing presentations or lessons on their campuses, sometimes in classes, in other student groups. So the education component will still be there. We're just leveraging it in a different way. Historically, the fellows have done some of those, but we haven't trained them as effectively in that as we think we could. So now really we're taking everything that we've learned from the years of honing those classroom lessons and training the fellows on that. So they can not only do the lessons, but just communicate effectively about all of these things in general.
Nice. So you've been doing the fellowship thing already, haven't you, alongside the... Okay, so it's not like this, not a new program, it's just
No,
continuing, like increasing your focus on that existing program, basically,
yeah,
and
it's
expanding.
actually become our main program over the last few years, and we had been tying them together with seeing how much we can concentrate both lessons and fellows in schools to create feedback loops. And that was definitely impactful, but it wasn't as easily scalable. And we wanted to make sure
Right.
that we had a more scalable model. It's harder to get as many really excellent educators as we wanted, be able to place them everywhere.
Yeah.
And as a recruitment mechanism, it wasn't the best place to put our resources. We got some good fellows from it, but overall, the caliber of the fellows we got from our broader recruitment efforts were on average stronger.
Interesting. Okay, so you've got these keen, presumably mostly vegan or that way inclined kids
Yeah,
reaching out to you to be a fellow on the program and to do volunteering. So they're pretty motivated and keen sort of characters in general, I imagine, doing their extracurriculars and stuff like that.
right. Yeah. So we are trying to make sure that they know about it and that they're enticed by it, but we're not focused so much on persuading them if they're not like already aligned to apply. We really want the ones who are pre-aligned.
Yeah. And apart from being already, I hear what you're saying. Like you're not trying to convince them of the basic premises here, right? You're hoping they're already on board with that. And now they're going to be trained as an advocate, essentially. But apart from already being aligned, what are good qualities in a fellow when you get applications? What's your perfect fellow look like?
Yeah. We have a pretty extensive rubric. We do interviews. We want to see fellows that are pretty aligned with our DNA, like our core values, which, if you boil it down, is what we call on itness. Like, are they highly competent? Do they get things done? Do they take initiative? Do they show lots of ownership? And an openness. Are they very open to feedback? Are they ideologically flexible? I mean, not around, like consuming animal products, but do they understand how to relate to others? Can they give feedback as well? So like a kind of a lack of ego or ability to at least see beyond their ego, to have a growth mindset, to be open to learning from us and changing. So that's if we boil it down, those are probably the two things that we're looking for most, but there is a list. Location is important. If there are other fellows at that school, we want to be building highly networked groups on campuses to be able to change culture, to build community. So there are a number of other things we're looking for, but really we want them to be on it and open.
Nice. Yeah, I really like that term on itness. I mean, there is a just sort of general level of being on the ball, we might say.
Yeah.
Right, like just taking initiative is something that you said, and just being kind of generally competent. I feel that people sometimes are like as competent as they want to be, and
Hmm.
can be more competent than they tend to be.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think part of that battle is, yeah, if they are aligned and they are motivated, um, which again, if they're doing, proactively reaching out, hopefully they are. That's pretty cool. So competent and open to feedback and growth was the other thing you said, which, yeah, again, that makes a lot of sense because if you're trying to train them, you don't want someone who thinks that they know it already, right?
Yeah, that their way is the only way. We don't
Mm-hmm.
think our way is the only way. Like we are always trying to learn and grow and improve, right? Like we just sunsetted our prior flagship program because we recognized that that wasn't the best place to put our resources. Like, so having ego around that would have been detrimental and to, we think, the movement. To end factory farming, and definitely long term, we imagine, to us as well. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking for. Like, oh, I believe this, but what was I wrong about? And you know, uh, can I change my mind in the face of better evidence?
Yes, that is no small feat. It bears saying. A lot of one of the big problems that we have as a producer of evidence in this section or sector, right, is that a lot of times organizations will have their flagship program that they kind of want to do regardless of what the evidence says. Um,
Mhm.
but of course, when it comes down to it, we've got a limited amount of resources. We've got almost an infinitely large problem, right, relative to the resources that we've got. And doing things less effectively than we could is wasting those resources, really, right? But at
Yeah.
the same time, that is a big. That must have been hard for you to. There's some tough decisions in there to pivot the organization's direction.
It was a tough decision in some ways. We thought it out. We wanted to make sure that we were making the right move. We didn't do it precipitously. It was a matter of months really looking at the data, thinking it through, uh, talking to staff, other stakeholders. But it's not that hard for us at this point in our evolution because we are very open to change and recognizing what is going to be most effective and benefit our mission. And so I think we've done a pretty good job with building the culture, recognizing that the culture itself is our strategy, and that has enabled us to make moves like that when necessary without a lot of internal pain about it.
That's really good. So, I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but presumably you had or have been employing educators who will no longer be employed.
Yes, yes, that did happen. And we went through a process. We're really grateful for all the work they've done, the impact they've had, but it didn't make sense to retain all of them. We'll can we see also our staff kind of like we see our fellows, where like they go through new routes, and when it's time for them to move on and contribute in other ways, then we are very happy for them to go and contribute in other organizations. We see that as actually a real positive. So we're not just looking to necessarily retain everyone forever. We recognize that we just might be part of their journey, and hopefully they learn a lot from us that then they can bring elsewhere. And that's the way we see our educators, that we um, let go of a couple months ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good to have that positive attitude towards the whole experience, and no doubt, these are smart people. They're going to land on their feet, but I don't want to undersell also how much this is you. The buck stops with you at the end of the day, and you had a hard decision to make. But as you said, really, it's about maximizing those worth of those resources for the animals, and I think that it sounds like staff were somewhat understanding of that. Some of them.
Yeah, they all understood actually, uh, which I'm really proud to say that the educators who are no longer with us themselves, like, obviously had some feelings about not being able to be with the organization anymore, but we're supportive of the move because they're they all very much care about ending factory farming. And if that's what the best move for the movement is, then that's what they supported. And that was really great to see.
Yeah, that is really great to see, and that is a sign of maturity. And I really think that the animal movement has a lot of that good attitude, where fundamentally, frankly, people who are working in a non-profit are probably taking a pay cut compared to what they could have in the private sector already, because they're doing something that they care about. So they're already, on some measures, making a sacrifice to do this. And you're right, there is just so much understanding of this is what we're trying to do overall here. And when everyone's so mission aligned, organizations really don't function like typically. In my view, you do get these situations where people are like quite, very understanding to be going another way from an organization and not necessarily bitter about it or anything like that, because they're so connected to the why they're doing it. It's really, what a world to get to work in. Hey.
Yeah, it is great. And one of the things that we look for in in people we hire that is explicit in our values is called inclusive collaboration, which is striving to see beyond your ego to meet others where they are and collectively strengthen our impact. And we've had staff who have self-demoted, have given themselves a pay cut to be in a different position that has a different pay because that's where they thought they were going to be most effective. And to me, like, that's like, seeing that has been great. But we definitely have a number of staff that are willing to just do whatever is best, and sometimes have suggested it themselves. So yeah, it is. I think it's kind of special to be in a place, in a movement where people care that much about what they're trying to accomplish, that they're more concerned about accomplishing that than about exactly how much they're getting paid. I mean, we try to pay everyone as fairly as we possibly can, obviously, but it's nonprofit, so like you
Yeah.
said, it's not a
Yeah.
lot.
And actually, on a similar note to that, an organization which is sort of a mutual of ours, you could say, I won't say who it is, but I think you might know, were a retaining client of Bryant Research, and we were working with them ongoing, and they eventually said to us, we think this is we've gotten as much as we will get out of this relationship, and will be no more. And similarly, I mean, to be honest, all I have to say about that was a pretty good decision, I think, because we had kind of done a similar report 2 or 3 years in a row, and it was, if we'd done it for another year, we probably would have done another similar report. It probably
Mm-hmm.
had run its course and provided as much value as it could. And I didn't feel, and I don't feel at all bitter about that coming to an end. We still have a good relationship with them. We're doing some, stuff ongoing with them and so on. So it really is a unique kind of attitude that everyone has when everyone is focused on the mission. It's so interesting as well interacting with people outside of our world who that's just completely alien. Some people, in kind of normal uh, jobs, I guess you could say, that's really like a strange concept.
Yeah, I had a friend once who kind of got annoyed and said BS to my response that if I'm really successful, I won't have a job here.
Right.
That and he's like, that's BS. I said, no, but that's why we're doing this. We're actually doing this so that we don't have to do this
Yeah.
anymore. And I would happily go teach instead, go teach English or philosophy or whatever else, and not do this work because it doesn't have to be done anymore. That's my goal. Well,
Yeah. Absolutely. That's animal advocates are the will be one of the biggest job losses of ending factory farming.
I'll be delighted.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, that's a good attitude. I mean, do you? What do you think you would do if we get there in our lifetime? You will
Oh,
you
oh,
be inclined
I,
towards? Oh, go on.
I teach. Yeah, like I still teach. I teach one class, one quarter at UCLA. Um,
Nice.
I I really enjoy it. I would continue to teach, probably go back to literature and philosophy and rhetoric.
That's awesome. You teach philosophy, do you?
Uh, Currently, I've taught philosophy, I've taught literature, taught German, I've taught writing.
Oh, cool.
Um, I, I currently teach a food politics course, which it's essentially an ethics course, critical theory, also looking at like how people are marketed to, how the consumer is constructed. We focus a lot on the intersection of race, gender, and species in the food system, and look at how like, oppression surfaces and the spaces that um, become just like giant shadows when the system is centralized somewhere else and we're no longer connected to it.
And that's super interesting. So you get to do teach university courses on your interests as well. That's awesome. I'm interested to know about. Obviously, New Roots Institute is now an animal charity evaluator's recommended charity. How has what was that process like getting evaluated, and how has it changed things for you since being recommended?
So the evaluation process is they ask for a quick turnaround, which at the time we weren't as ready as we were this time around. We've really increased our ability over the last couple of years to um, collect and analyze our data. Uh, we've hired a research and data manager who I think actually you've met.
Nice.
He's yeah, like a PhD biostatistician. That's really been game changing. So one of the things that the ACE recommendation has allowed us to do is be able to build that out a bit more. It's hard to say exactly how much funding has come directly because of that, but certainly we have had some really great hires who learned about us because of the ACE recommendation. I would say to us, like the ability to hire those people is probably just as, if not more valuable than whatever kind of increased revenue we've received as a result.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Yeah. And I think in general, just having the having the process itself is helpful, seeing what they're looking for, being able to analyze where we are at, really think through future scenarios of increased funding, decreased funding, what does all of that look like? How do we best allocate our resources? That in itself has been helpful. We were doing that anyway to a certain extent, but this is, kind of forced us to think about it even more deeply. And it does lend credibility, especially in the EA space, which we definitely have a lot of sympathy towards and alignment with. So I would say those are the biggest things from my perspective as someone who is trying to build the best team possible. I've really appreciated the ability to have people come to us who are excited about our organization because of the ACE recommendation.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So the most valuable thing was really getting, now you've got an influx of really A players, as they say, right, who want to come and work for you because you're an ACE recommended charity.
Yeah, the hires we've been able to make in the last couple of years have really been phenomenal, and
That's awesome.
it's been pretty exciting to see the just our our leveling up since 2 years ago when we first did the ACE application.
That's
And
fantastic.
at the time they thought obviously we were cost effective enough to be recommended, but I think now we're producing significantly superior work than even at that time.
Yeah, well, it sounds like all you've done since getting recommended is pivot to a 20x more effective program and hire a bunch of really talented people. So
Yeah, it's right. It does sound good.
pretty
I like
confident for the next ACE evaluation then.
um uh, it what they're looking for, I think, has shifted a bit. And we are fundamentally an educational organization, so we do have direct impacts through our students running campaigns. Like, we've had students who were part of getting UCLA to go 50% plant-based by 2027, or getting shrimp off the menu at Pomona College, or getting some plant-based defaults passed at Cornell. Things like that do have direct impact on campuses and should be shifting social norms, which is a goal of ours. But I think that the major part of all of the learning that is happening and the long-term impact is difficult to measure. Like, all of the counterfactuals, who is or is not entering the movement as a result, or doing work in government, or advocating in corporate spaces. It's hard to really prove
Yeah,
that.
well, yeah. I mean, I think that's the main thing from an EA perspective is like the capacity building, isn't it? In the long term,
Yeah,
the next generation is going to have a loads more skilled animal advocates than the previous one did.
yeah. But what we did discover when we were doing all of our suffering adjusted day estimates and cost effectiveness estimates is that the impact that the students are having does seem to put us even still in the same range as other recommended organizations. So that has been nice for us to see as well. But generally, we're not basing our impact on that in the same way that cage-free campaigns might be.
Yeah, so you're focused on creating people who are going to be long-term effective advocates rather than necessarily getting the short-term wins.
Right. But the short-term wins are something that that is a mechanism towards training them, and
Absolutely, yeah.
also happens to be getting these wins and shifting the social norms.
But even, yeah, more important than the number of animals that are saved through the defaults or whatever it may be, well, maybe, right? The fellow in that case having the experience of, damn, I did this campaign and it seemed unlikely that we would win at some point and no one was paying us attention, but then we made enough noise that we got the attention we deserved and we made it happen. Having that experience and being instilled with that belief and that knowledge that you can make it happen because I made it happen before,
Yeah.
that's a really powerful thing.
Yeah. For sure. And we've seen a number of those fellows continue the work after they've graduated college and are working for other organizations within the movement, or you know organizations outside of the movement, but continuing to do the work. And that's been really exciting. And it's only been a few years of that, because really our first graduating cohort was a larger graduating cohort was effectively 2020. So some of those were high school students that are probably like just graduating from college right now, or maybe about to. So it's really going to be the next few years where we get a lot more information about how that's going, and we can continue to build out our support for our alumni, because at the moment our programming we feel is really solid, and where we're focused on most right now is that recruitment and the alumni support.
Nice. Do you frame it at all as being a qualification or a certification or something like that? That seems like that'd be motivating for the kind of people you're hoping to attract.
Yeah, we are hoping to continue to build up the prestige and rigor of the fellowship, and that they will see it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, because you could definitely have New Roots graduates
Right.
who have their they've done a certain amount of years or whatever it may be, or they've achieved took certain things, met certain criteria. Yeah, that could be kind of cool. Okay, nice. Well, listen, we're nearly at your hard stop time, so I won't keep you any longer than that. Is there anything? It sounds really cool what you do, because you're getting. It must be very hope inspiring that you're seeing all these young kids who are really keen to make a difference, and that they're going to be. It's really kind of meta in the sense of increasing the future rate of change, something like that. So it's I really love this whole approach. Is there anything else you want to add or say to sort of round us off?
I think we've hit the basics. I too am really looking forward to seeing what happens over the next few years. It's, again, like I said, really exciting for us to have gotten that ACE recommendation to be able to help build the organization that we've been wanting to build and aiming for. And yeah, well, I guess we'll see how it goes with the evaluation this year.
Yeah, congratulations so much on building an awesome org and on taking tough decisions to do the right thing by animals. That's a really inspiring thing. So yeah, I appreciate you, and thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for the work you do, and for taking this time as well.
Yeah, my pleasure. We'll speak soon, Jesse. Take care.
Okay, take care.
Cheers.